Well, hello there, fine people. I have been on a hiatus, but I'm so happy to be back with a new video for 2022. I don't even know if I recorded anything last year. I kind of went on a hiatus just because of fear of overusing the product. So I'm back here. I came across the tool in my drawer. I actually moved and had everything packed up, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember you, and I remember that YouTube channel that I kind of kicked off and never followed up with because I'm irresponsible. But to my subscribers, that you guys are awesome. And the amount of views that the videos made, I haven't checked in with things lately. It's phenomenal. So I'm happy to come back and bring a new video up for you. Same old tool, same story. Big old oily nose that needs to be exfoliated. I'm so disappointed in myself. I mean, it's so bad. So yeah, here we are again with my pore vacuum that's a really gross one that I got off of Amazon. I use it for entertainment. I think I've mentioned in recent, or not recent, but past videos that this is not a legit facial cleansing tool. You can look at my nose there. It's a little bit of blood, a little bit of, looks like the capillaries are a little irritated, which is really another reason I stopped making these videos. Like I said in my last video, it's just not sustainable. And, I don't want to ruin my skin. You can only do this so often. And I don't want to break things down. So that's kind of why I just kind of phased out of it. But, coming back a year and a half later to make a video, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. But so playing around with this thing, it's really hard to control sometimes. So, if you're irritated because it's like something starts to come out and then the camera moves, 9 times out of 10, it's because it just kind of slips. So the way it works is it's literally a vacuum. You put it onto the area and it kind of sucks that area up into the little camera vacuum mechanism thingy. And there's 3 different modes on it. I always use it on the least powerful mode and, operate it from there. What happens is, I only use it on my nose. Anywhere else I'd use it on my face would bruise. So what I do is I just use it on my lower nose area. And because, it's one of those areas of your body where it's a tinier place, there's not a lot of surface for it to hold on to. So it's like one small push to the side can just, throw the camera off, especially if I'm going around my nostril area or through my septum area and through the creases of my nose. Since it's creased, the camera's not always able to latch onto it. So it can be a little hard to maneuver, and it is definitely really irritating to me because I'm like, ooh, wow, look, that one is huge and gross, and then the camera just slips and I can't find it again because the camera is really tiny. That's another thing we have to take into consideration is the fact that, how we're looking at it right now, it's a very tiny little camera. So the odds of me going directly back to that place that I fell off of are slim to none. Another thing I kind of want to point out is the length of time that I'm holding onto a spot. It might seem like I am holding on to things for a long amount of time, but the truth of the matter is that I slow down these videos so that you can kind of see things in action. It is not advisable to hold it onto a certain space for longer than a second or two, and even I kind of push those limits. But anything beyond that will definitely cause some bruising and bleeding. So it's really important. And here I am cleaning off the camera because people seem to like that. That Q-tip is gross. But, that way you can kind of get a good idea where things are coming from. Another thing that I like, but kind of sort of don't like about the tool is the fact that everything gets scraped off the side, which is cool because you do kind of want the oil and the whiteheads to come off of your skin. But a lot of times I find what happens is you might see one of the whiteheads start coming up out of the pores, but it kind of just rests there without fully coming up because the vacuum just isn't powerful enough to pull it up there, and it basically just gets scraped against the side of the camera coming on up. And it's not completely removed, it's just whatever was on the top of the surface got scraped up. Which is fine, but it kind of also takes away from the visibility of the video because you don't really see a lot of this come up. You just really see the edges of the camera pushing things outside of your pores. So it's kind of like, in a sense, just squeezing or scraping something, like putting a lot of pressure on your skin and then scraping it. Like, yeah, that would work because you're pushing down on it to raise the things up and then just scraping along the side of it, which is essentially what I feel like this is doing. What I did notice in this video in comparison to a lot of my other videos is that I had more solid, I guess, oil in my skin. In the past, I'm used to the big white stringy oil coming out of my nose. This time there seemed to be a lot of dirt, and a little grossed out by that. I did this video in the afternoon, so working from home kind of makes me neglect my skincare as much as I should. And like I said, I'm kind of grossed out by it. This right here is on the tip of my nose. You can kind of see my nostrils coming on about the bottom of the screen, which makes me extremely uncomfortable to look up my nose. And I don't really like to keep it on the tip of my nose just because if the redness is going to show up and stick around for some time anywhere, I really don't want to look like Rudolph. So I'm extremely careful in this area. Taking it down through the septum of my nose is something that I can do. So as I believe right here, that is what I'm doing. But that's another one of those tricky areas where it can be hard to hold on to something, and you can slip off easily and this thing can wind up straight into my nose. So yeah, it's it can be a little difficult to maneuver, but it's fun to watch. What else I am really not happy with is the amount of just dead, dry skin on my face. It kind of shows that I need to exfoliate, and I needed to do it probably a year ago. And I also had that problem in a few of my last videos. And one of the biggest things that I deal with, I have a upper respiratory condition that causes nasal polyps to reoccur, and ultimately gives me a runny nose every so often. So I blow my nose a lot more than the average person. And when you have this type of condition, you don't wait until you can find a Kleenex, or you don't wait until you can find something soft. You go grab what's there. There's paper towels, a napkin of some sort, and that stuff can be pretty abrasive. So I'm not making excuses for not exfoliating, but I would assume that there's also a possibility that the materials that I'm regularly using to blow my nose, because I have to do it a little more than an average person, is kind of taking its effect on things like that. So by like the end of the video, things started to slow down a bit. This is definitely the septum here. I got a bit out of here. It wasn't a whole lot of oil, and this is where I found the most, that and on the tip of my nose is where I found the most of that darker colored oil. So yeah, maybe that's a part that I need to focus on. Like I said, the tool is not something that you should be using as a in your skin regimen. It's not that type of tool. I don't, to be completely honest with you, I don't think it's helpful. I don't. It's just kind of scraping off the surface, and I think the best thing you can do is kind of just clean your skin with whatever types of soap you use, whatever types of products you use. Using something like this, it's not good for longevity at all. And like I said, you can see some of the blood there starting to come out, and then around the camera you can just see oil. So a lot of it is just scraping oil off the top surface. You can see it's kind of just bubbling. A lot of it is just scraping. So it's not something I would invest in as as something for your beauty regimen. And then also, it is on average, these things are advertised for sale as a blackhead vacuum, and to my understanding and from what I read, blackheads are not easily removed. So a product like this wouldn't be able to clear up your nose of a bunch of blackheads or take blackheads out of your pores. So I definitely wouldn't invest in it for that purposes. Like I said, surface oils and those small whiteheads, it can take those to the surface, but it's not a cleansing tool at all. I wouldn't even use it that way. And quite frankly, I've never had a consult. I'm sorry, I'm like pulling hair out of my mouth. There we go. I don't know what that was about. But yeah, if you went to a dermatologist and told them you were using this, I'm pretty sure you would be scorned. So, it's entertaining, but you have to be very careful with it because it can really damage your skin. I feel stupid for even saying that because here I am making a video about it, putting it on my skin and watching it become all red and sensitive looking. So that's the crease of my nose. That's where a lot of oil builds up, right in the crease of my nose. So that's really my favorite place to run it. I believe I went through the crease of my nose earlier in the video, which is why so much of it didn't come out. I just guess I didn't locate it. But you see all in there, it's like kind of torn up, and it just doesn't look good. So kind of really got to be careful with such a delicate skin. I cannot believe I talked this entire video. I'm quite impressed. And that's another thing. Sometimes the oil around the camera, you can see it just scraping right back onto your skin, which is really counterproductive. So, like I said, fun to play with. Wouldn't necessarily recommend as a beauty routine. Thanks for watching.